Hello, welcome to EC314 Public and Private Investment Analysis. My name is Dr. Sarah Tinkler in the Economics Department, and I am the instructor for this course. This is the homepage, and I want to show you around a little bit so you can get started immediately on Monday morning. The first thing to say is that you will need to join a small group, and if you have a strong preference for which group you're in, what you want to do is click on People, Groups, and then select a group on the company discussion board. There's room for 10 people in each group. I haven't labeled them yet, but if you really want to be with certain people or you really want a particular company, then make sure you sign in early to get into the group you want. Okay, so going back to the home page, so this is a little bit about the small group. I prefer to be contacted using my regular email, tinkler@pdx.edu. If you write to me on D2L, I will probably eventually notice, but if you really want to talk to me quickly, then that's the best way to reach me. You can make appointments with me, you can come to my office hours, or we can sort things out over email if necessary. We have a very experienced teaching assistant, Colin Gibson. I think these are his office hours again, but I may update those on the website going forward. Let's see, what else do we need to know? Well, if we go to content, we've got a lot of interesting things here. So we have a syllabus which you can look at. I think the most important thing to notice on the syllabus is that there is an in-class final. So even though this is an online course, there is an in-class final, so please make a note of that. The book is required officially because some people will have someone buy them a book, and that would be great. If you can't, if you don't want to buy the book, it's on 2-hour reserve at the library, along with another very good engineering economic book, Noonan et al. And any older edition, 5th or 4th edition, is fine. So lots of ways to get materials. It's an expensive book. You don't have to buy it. But if you did buy it, it would be a lovely reference going forward. There are essentially 10 weekly quizzes that are always due Sunday at 11:30 p.m. So at the end of week one, the next Sunday, week one's quiz will be due. You get 2 shots at all quizzes. Highest score counts. You also get a practice quiz, and I would like you to take the practice quizzes because there's a lot of teaching material built into the practice quizzes. I would mention that the class starts out kind of slow, and especially if you're an econ major, you're thinking, cost curves, I'm good with that, I'm not going to worry, but it does actually ramp up quite fast, starting in about weeks 4 or 5. So please stay invested, even if you feel like it starts out pretty easy. You might not think it's easy, but the pace picks up, but I think it's not too fast. So we have sort of an accountancy thread running through the whole course, as well as the engineering economics, and that's going to be taken care of on the discussion board. So if we look at activities and look at the discussion board, the first discussion board is due Monday at 11:30 p.m. So after week 1, the Monday of week 2, you have to have posted to the discussion board. We start out slow with introducing ourselves to the rest of the group. In week 2, we read the letter to shareholders for the company group that we've joined, and comment on that. So we're starting to build up material for the group presentation that will be due online at the end of term. So it's going to be a PowerPoint. You don't have to come in and present. You're responsible for 1 or 2 slides, and you're only graded on the activities that you undertake. You're not going to be penalized if you have other people who didn't participate. I'll just give you an example of a presentation. This is Walmart from winter, which people liked quite a bit. So you can see someone went through at the end and made all the slides consistent, but there were individual people who created each slide, and they were graded on their own work. So if you have someone who doesn't show up and then you end up with one less slide, you are not going to be penalized for your contribution. So you can see Walmart was a very nice tidy one. It didn't have to be this good, but a lot of people, you could see real pride of ownership with their company studies. So that's how it looks. And we build up that material over the course of 8 weeks in the discussion board. Then week 9, you coordinate the presentation, and week 10, we view other people's presentations and comment on them. So things change a little bit for the discussion in terms of deadlines and what you're doing in weeks 9 and 10. But week 1 through 8, it's a discussion post every Monday at 11:30 p.m. The quizzes, so we don't have any assignments. The quizzes, you can see practice quizzes every week, and then graded quizzes. Let me grab, say, week 5 graded quiz. I'll show you, I'll do the edit one so I can show you what it looks like. So, for example, what is the equivalent present value of the following series of payments? $5,000 the first year, $5,500 the second year, so $6,000 the third year. So you'll notice eventually that that's a uniform gradient series because it goes up $500 a year. And the important thing is that I tell you how to do it in the feedback. There's a comment you can see. You may not be able to see the whole thing, but there's a comment on how to do this problem. And some people have trouble finding the feedback in quiz questions. If you've got, what you do is you click on the attempt. So after you've done the quiz, you click on the attempt and then you can see the feedback. But if you have trouble seeing feedback or anything like that, then do let me know because I can help you find that. What else? Every single week you have some materials to engage with. We've got these things called factor tables that are covered in week 3, actually the calculators. This is a really good engineering economics calculator. It's great if you're an econ major. You can also use Excel if you're working online, but when you're in an exam situation, you have to be able to do these things with a handheld calculator and the factor tables. So don't get too dependent on this, but it's actually a nice way to check your work to see if you did it right using your calculator. The reference guide is available free from the FE the people who put on the FE exam, the Fundamentals of Engineering exam. Econ majors won't find that interesting, but if you're an engineer, you can grab a copy of that. These are the engineering economics pages, and we cover all the topics that are mentioned in the FE reference guide under engineering economics. So if I just grab a random week like week 4, the weeks all tend to be the same. There's a practice quiz with some, as I said, some teaching materials in it, so do take it. You get 2 shots at a graded quiz. You must be done by Sunday, and you post to the discussion board on Monday. Some chapters are recommended for PARC. If you're using a different book, then you can just look it up in the index. There are summary notes. For example, these are summary notes about income statement and retained earnings that you can use to work on the discussion board, because the accountancy takes place on the discussion board. And then in terms of the engineering economics, this is the equal payments. I go through and explain the concepts that are tested on the quiz that week. So the quizzes basically can be done using online materials, to be honest, so you don't necessarily need to buy a book, but it would be nice to have a book to look at. I have course videos, some of which I wrote, I produced myself, and others I found some good ones online just to have a change of person doing the talking. I found some really nice ones. I think you'll like them. We always have some additional resources, including personal finance. So we think of the personal finance applications of the material that we're covering in a particular particular week. And then here's my classroom slides from when I teach it online. And they're very, very similar to the summary notes. So if the summary notes are fine for you, that's great. But this is a more sort of narrative style. So if you would like to sort of feel like you're following along in a classroom, you can look through these PowerPoints, which is what I would use if I was teaching this online. Okay, so my videos are on YouTube, which you can find by Googling Sarah Tinkler Economics YouTube. I think I've covered everything. There's a presentation template. So if we look under the small group company study for this term, so we're going to have Adobe, for example. If you love Adobe, you want to get in there early April 1st and join Adobe or Netflix or Kellogg's. I've chosen companies that produce a tangible good or a service because they're much easier to analyze than some kind of financial company. This stuff here, you will find the group presentation template. So if we click on Adobe, you can see it takes us to a blank one. Do change the font. This is not a great font. I only just picked it randomly. I think it's Comic Microsoft or Comic Sans Microsoft, but feel free to change the font, and I will see you online, and have a good rest of the spring break. Bye-bye.